Welcome to This Explainer. If you've been anywhere near tech forums lately, you've probably been absolutely bombarded with a brand new buzzword, vibe coding, right? It's everywhere. But what is it, actually? Today, we're going to unpack the source material and deconstruct exactly where this massive trend came from and why it might literally rewrite the rules of how we build software. Okay, let's dive into this. Coding knowledge optional. Wow. That is an incredibly provocative claim, isn't it? But according to the research we're looking at today, this is the massive promise driving the whole vibe coding movement. It's this bold idea that you just don't necessarily need to know traditional software syntax anymore to build fully functional apps. Crazy, right? But hey, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we really need to pin down what this term actually means in the real world. So what's really fascinating here is that despite its massive popularity right now, vibe coding is absolutely not a single monolithic thing. Actually, scratch that. It's more like it's morphed into an umbrella term. It basically covers a whole spectrum of interpretations about how humans are using AI to create software. And because it's this big, broad umbrella, you've got different developers using the exact same phrase to describe wildly different workflows. Let's move to and see how this builds into two diverging definitions and how the developer community is actually splitting on this issue.
The source text highlights a very clear divergence happening right now. On one side, you have folks who think vibe coding is synonymous with fully agentic coding. For this camp, it's like a magic wand. You give the AI a prompt, you sit back, and it builds the app top to bottom. You're delegating almost the entire process. But the other camp sees it totally differently. They call it agent-supported engineering. This is much more of a hybrid approach. The AI does the heavy lifting, for sure, but the human developers are still right there in the trenches, manually editing and rigorously inspecting the code. Two completely different ways of working, both sitting under the exact same buzzword. To really get this, we need to look at how we're evolving past autocomplete, representing a massive leap in AI assistance. And this brilliantly illustrates the evolutionary jump we're witnessing. Look, step one was early AI-assisted programming. Think tools like GitHub Copilot. Our source explicitly notes this was basically a super advanced localized spell checker for your code. It was incredibly helpful, predicting your next few lines, but it was limited. Step two, though, that's where vibe coding lives, and it is a completely different ballgame. We're now seeing these agentic practices inside complex multi-tool environments. The AI isn't just finishing your sentence anymore. No, it's navigating your terminal, browsing the web, and managing your code editor all at once to build out an entire architecture from a single prompt. It's wild. Which brings us to the most disruptive part of our explainer, the idea that coding knowledge is now optional, leading to the rapid rise of new creators.
The source text uses this fantastic term to describe these new creators, the vernacular programmer. Just think about the magnitude of this shift for a second. You no longer need a computer science degree. You don't need years of grinding through syntax training. If you're, say, a doctor with a brilliant idea for a medical app, or a teacher who wants a customized grading tool, and you can just communicate effectively with an AI in plain English, well, you are now a vernacular programmer. The traditional, incredibly high barrier to entry for building software is literally being dismantled right before our eyes. So, the crucial point here is the undeniable need for investigation into what we still just don't know. We literally have three massive shifts colliding all at once in the tech world right now. We've got the rapid emergence of agentic AI practices, the rise of these complex multi-tool environments, and this huge influx of non-traditional coders. Combined, these three things are fundamentally rewriting the DNA of software development. But because this whole ecosystem's evolving at just breakneck speed, the researchers warn that we are kind of flying blind right now. Which leaves us with a final, burning question from our source. How do people actually define and work with vibe coding in practice? The researchers conclude that this massive shift heavily warrants closer empirical investigation. We've got the flashy buzzwords and we keep hearing these bold claims about coding being optional, but what is actually happening on the ground when a vernacular programmer sits down with an AI agent? Are they just casually chatting with it, or is there some hidden layer of manual labor and a totally new type of prompt engineering going on? We really need to look past the hype and thoroughly study the reality of this new workflow. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to ponder. If traditional coding knowledge is truly becoming optional, what exactly is the defining skill of the future software creator? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.